in need.
Fourth oral question, Lord Young of Cookham.
I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
We welcome the CMA's final report following its full market study into house building. In 2022, the Secretary of State wrote to the CMA supporting the suggestion of a full market study, the first since 2008. The Government will now take away and carefully consider these findings and recommendations and formally respond within 90 days. The CMA's recommendations can help industry, the Government and regulators to make sure the market is operating effectively and working well for consumers.
I appreciate the report was published only 2 days ago, but it was published after the Government made significant changes to housing and planning policy. And on those changes, the CMA report is very clear. It says, I quote, "Significant interventions and further actions are required by Government if we are to address what they describe as the complex and unpredictable planning system with its under-resourced planning departments." They also make it clear that local authorities should have clear housing targets if we are to meet the demand in housing that we've just heard about. Will the Government be looking very sympathetically at these recommendations?
As I've said, we will carefully consider all the recommendations and the findings from the report. And our national planning policy framework means councils must have local plans in place to deliver more homes in the right places and, my lords, of the right type that are required in that particular community. And as part of the recent consultation on changes to the national planning policy framework, we have committed to review our approach to assessing housing need once the new housing projections data based on the 2021 census is released next year, my lords.
My lords.
The excellent report from the Competition and Markets Authority shows why depending upon a small handful of volume house builders does not produce either the quantity or the quality of homes that we need. Could I ask the Noble Baroness, the Minister, has she thought about taking off the shelf the Oliver Letwin report, which is quoted in the CMA report very favourably, and which calls for development corporations with master plans and compulsory purchase powers who could rather take the place of some of these volume house builders and get what we actually deserve?
I think the Noble Lord has some interesting ideas in this area, and I particularly about the large house builders, which seem to have controlled the market, and that's why we're putting a lot of support into the small and medium-sized house builders. I think, as far as the Oliver Letwin report, I think we will look at everything once we have got this report and when we start to work on it, and we will be bringing out further information in due course, my lords.
My noble friend aware that your Lordship's Built Environment Select Committee has repeatedly found that the cost and arduousness of the planning system is a deterrent to development, particularly for small house builders, who have fallen from producing 40% of our homes 20 years ago to merely 10% today. And will she consider the possibility of alleviating the burden of the planning system, particularly for smaller sites, so as to make it possible for smaller house builders to survive and thrive?
Very good.
As I've said previously, SMEs play a critical role in the house building and the housing market in this country. And we have, through the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act, made changes to the planning system which will support SMEs to build more homes by making the planning process easier to navigate, faster and more predictable. And the Government has recently announced policies that will support the SME house builders, including an expansion of the Enable Build Guarantee Scheme, Homes England's pilots of SMEs only land sales, and updating the community infrastructure levy guidance, my lord. So I think we are on the same place as my noble friend, and we will be working with this sector very, very closely in the future.
My Lords, there is a specific recommendation in the CMA, the excellent CMA report, regarding targets, and I quote, "More objective and effective use of targets to ensure housing need is met are needed." With the government caving into pressure from backbenchers in the other place and scrapping housing targets, and the developers putting profit before people's homes, will the government now reinstate those housing targets and make a long-term plan to deliver the homes we need, preferably in the new towns that the Labour Party is promoting?
My Lords, let me make it clear that we have delivered 2.5 million extra homes since the beginning since in the last 14 years. We've also delivered since 2018 the 4 highest annual building numbers for 30 years. And we are on target for 1 million more homes but in this Parliament. My Lord, we are delivering, but we've been through an economic crisis. We're coming out of it, and we will start and we will build more homes in the future.
Yeah. Lord. My Lords, the report highlights the now widespread practice by local authorities of the non-adoption of public amenities such as roads and playgrounds on all the new build estates. Does the noble lady, the Minister, accept that councils have been pushed down this road by significant cuts in their budget over many years? But more importantly, what steps is the government taking to reverse this trend, which has resulted in an explosion of unregulated management companies ripping off residents who are in effect paying twice for public facilities usually provided via council tax?
The noble lady is right, and like me, she understands this system. And since about 2015, yes, there has been more councils that are not taking control. I believe that's council priorities. I don't believe it's about money, because not all of them have. But it is up to the developers and the local planning authority to agree the appropriate funding, delivery and maintenance arrangements for these public areas. And that's why, through the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Bill, we're taking firm action to ensure that estate management companies are more accountable to their freeholders for how their money is spent, my Lords.
My Lords, my noble friend will have observed that the CMA report noted what they said was an increase in the number of snags of a serious kind that new home buyers are encountering. And at paragraph 5.123, they make a recommendation about how the New Homes Quality Board could be the mechanism by which the New Homes Ombudsman Service and indeed a mandatory code for home buyers and house builders could be brought forward more rapidly. I wonder if my noble friend, in her examination of the report, would respond positively to that recommendation.
My noble friend brings up a very important point, and the government is already committed to improving redress for new build home buyers when things go wrong, my Lords. And the Building Safety Act includes provision for new homes ombudsman scheme to become statutory and to provide a dispute resolution to determine complaints by buyers of new build homes against their developers, my Lords.
The report notes that about 60% of the houses built between 2021 and 22 were speculative private development, and acknowledges that this has widened the gap between what the market will deliver and what communities need. Surely, to get the right home in the right place at the right price, we have to get away from this privatised model and also get better quality, addressing the issues the noble Lord Lansley raised.
And that's exactly why, in the Levelling Up Act, it is now an Act, has made such an issue about every local authority having a local plan. That local, there's no good shaking your head, that if you're going to have a plan-led system, which is the simplest system to navigate, then you need a local plan, and you need to know how many houses you need in your area, what type of houses they are, and the area of land that you're going to use for housing. If local authorities have local plans, they will deliver more houses in the right place of the right type, my Lords, that this country needs.
Lords, Can the noble lady, or does nobody agree with me, that this report, of course, gives an excellent report and actually highlights how we need to end leasehold once and for all? And we've got this bill coming forward in a few weeks' time. There it is there. Nobody's got it in his hand. We can end leasehold once and for all at a date in the future and actually promote common hold, which is what we need in this country.
Yes. My Lords, you'd be glad to hear that that the leasehold bill left the Commons yesterday, and it will be. It's here. So I can't wait to discuss it with the noble lord opposite, and I'm sure we will discuss all these things in great detail.
Message from the Commons that